Hello and welcome back to the Variant Cast. I am here with my very special guest that is here every single week. He just found out that he needs to serve 300 years in prison if he ever goes back to the sacred timeline, but he's fine just chilling in his little podcast bubble. It is Trent. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Here live from podcast prison and excited to record another Variant Cast episode.
Let's go. It's the Podcast Variants Authority back at it again. Why don't we go ahead and tell them what we're going to be talking about at today's show?
Today we're going to be diving into the first two episodes of Loki that just came out. Those just dropped on Disney Plus. And along with that, we're going to talk some Marvel TV news since there's going to be a big switch up in the production side of things. And then we're going to go into some A24 news because they're supposedly getting into maybe some bigger IPs and some bigger properties. So we'll talk about that. And then we got a fun game involving some non-traditional actors that both me and Ty like. We're talking about musician actors, athlete actors, and all the like. So make sure to join us in that segment later in the show. And after that, finish off the show. Maybe we'll talk about what we've been watching this week.
Yeah. So make sure you stick around for that. We been taking a look at a few random movies. So maybe talking about some of your favorites. So make sure to stick around. Just to jump right into it, let's go ahead and get into Loki. Episode 1 and 2 are now out.
Let's do it.
What do you think, Trent?
I love them. I'm really digging this show. It seems to be picking up right where season 1 ends. Not necessarily like story wise, but just like style wise and like feel wise. And it's good to just like be back with the characters that I feel like we need to spend more time with.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first season, everyone loved it, but that was at kind of a period where people kind of loved everything coming out on Disney Plus. So with season 2, I think, it's Marvel reception is at an all-time low. If you're talking about approval ratings, it's all-time low. So they really needed to hit it out of the park with this one to show, hey, not only are movies still okay, but we can still put out some good TV. And this is probably their like top 3. This like these first 2 episodes, I think it's like top 3 Disney Plus content. Obviously I probably would have said that about Miss Marvel after the first couple episodes. And there are some similarities in just like how uniquely shot these first 2 episodes are like compared to other Disney Plus projects. But I mean, really all in all, it's just well written. It doesn't feel like there's plot holes around every corner. Doesn't feel like we're ever wasting time. Every episode is only 45 minutes, but it feels like a movie every time. Definitely. It feels like something happened.
Yeah.
And I think that was my biggest problem with like Miss Marvel, for example, is there was like an episode where just nothing happened. 2 episodes just felt like nothing is happening. Like, what are we waiting for? This is the opposite problem where I just want to know what is going to happen next.
Yeah, and it seems like there's so many undiscovered little things about the world that need to be figured out or resolved, or just like little story plots that need to be settled. But it's like a rich world that I just love watching.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I think they could have easily phoned in this TVA thing, especially with, we're going to kill He Who Remains, and the TVA is going to get destroyed. All the variants are going to get blasted back to the original timeline, and season 2 is going to follow them, or something like that.
Yeah.
But they're taking a very unique approach to it. It's not really a story that's ever been told, like comic books, anything like that. This is a completely original sci-fi story within the Marvel universe that has great consequences for the MCU.
Yeah. And it's like a completely different style than the other MCU shows as well. So like the first episode, it seemed like it was almost like shot on digital because it had like kind of like that film grain, you know. And
Mhm.
yeah, it just seemed it's just great.
Yeah, I wanna give a special shout out to we're gonna be talking about some A24, but Ki Hu Kwan. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but
Hmm.
he plays Ouroboros or OB, and there's a really good scene with OB that deals with like the time travel and all that stuff. Let's get into some spoilers for a second.
Let's do it.
What do you think? What do you think this means for the overall MCU? Like, what are they trying to tell us here? What are they trying to? Because it feels like Loki, more than any other Disney Plus show or any other Marvel project, is trying to tell us stuff
Yeah.
about where the MCU is going, especially since it is a completely original Marvel
Hmm.
like cinematic universe story. So this story is created to move along the MCU in the multiverse saga.
Yeah.
Where do you think we're going?
Um, it certainly seems like we're headed towards like the next Avengers movie with Kang and his variants and the He Who Remains. But yeah, with the whole pruning timelines and uh all of that, and like now at the end of season 2, or at the end of episode 2, like there's like a big like a like a big change. It feels like what should be a big change in the universe, but like that
They
probably
bombed
yeah,
timelines.
they literally bombed the timelines. And it seems like there should be ramifications for that, but like who knows.
So from what I gather from this world, right,
Mm-hmm.
is you have the sacred timeline that moves in one direction. There's other like there's other instances. There's different things going on at once, but they all move back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
They go, and then I'm guessing they end, and then they start over, and they go, and then they end, and that's how He Who Remains had it. Now, there's theory because the Council of Kangs, like what is that scene of the Council of Kangs? There's a theory that like this whole TVA, all of these timelines are just in kind of this confined space to the overall multiverse.
Mm.
And I don't know exactly what they're doing there, but I think with like that, I think what was happening, and they kind of talked about it in Endgame, is like a if you take the Infinity Stone and you don't return it to the same point in time, it's going to branch.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why the Ancient Ones like, hey, don't let us branch, is they would get pruned for branching.
Yeah.
But since he returned it to the same spot in the timeline, it never branched because everything was where it needed to be. But then when He Who Remains was killed and they were allowed to just start branching all over the place, it essentially, like any point in the timeline could now branch. So you could be in the 1800s and someone tied their shoe differently, and then that created a whole branch that went off and had this whole world that developed off of this one difference or whatnot. And we get to see that with Sylvie. She goes to the 80s, Oklahoma in the 80s.
Yeah. To a McDonald's.
She could pick any life, and she wanted to be a woman in Oklahoma in the 1980s working at McDonald's.
At first, I thought it was going to be the first McDonald's, like their original McDonald's, you know? And then Michael
Right?
Keaton
She's
was
getting
gonna
on the
show
ground
up.
floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I really don't understand what she was doing, because like she doesn't have a spot on Earth. Like her spot in the timeline was as a Loki variant that was on the sacred timeline that was just happened to be a woman for some reason. But it was still like her story was supposed to follow the same story as like the Loki we saw.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like her Thor was the same. They haven't gone into that at all, because her timeline got, like her whole timeline got pruned, right?
Yeah, presumably.
Yeah, because they said they reset the timeline. They took her, said you're the Nexus event. She was just vibing.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to know what her Nexus event is. No one like will tell her what her Nexus event is.
Yeah.
So I think the reveal for her Nexus event has to be something with Kang, right?
Yeah, I feel like it has to be.
Because it seems like he only prunes timelines that have like him in it. Like he wants to prune that timeline. So maybe she contributed to Kang being born or something like that. I don't know.
Who knows?
I have a bit of a side question here about Loki. Isn't he a frost giant?
Yeah, yeah, he's like half frost.
But how is he half frost giant?
Because actually is he a frost giant?
No, he's I thought he was just 100% frost giant because like in the MCU, I know in the comics he's half. But in the MCU, Odin just like shows up, fights a bunch of frost giants.
Given Loki from the frost giants.
He wasn't giving him.
No, yeah,
he killed him.
Yeah, he took Loki from the frost giants.
Yeah, so I don't understand how Loki. I understand he knows magic from his mom, but that's presumably his adopted mom. Unless they're kind of like quietly retconning that back into the comics, where that is his biological mother and he's half frost giant. Like, so she cheated on Odin with a frost giant, or the frost giant did some nefarious stuff. Something.
Yeah.
Because it definitely feels like maybe they just didn't want to say that and that was supposed to be implied, but it definitely feels like he's not just a frost giant.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's Loki. First couple episodes, I think they knocked it out of the park. I hope they don't fumble it, like they did with a couple of their Disney Plus shows at this point. Have had some pretty rough climaxes. Looking at you, Secret Invasion.
Yeah, and yeah, I hope that the season continues to get better as it goes and answers all the questions, because that's ultimately what we're here for, right?
Yeah,
it
does seem like every episode will answer a question. I'm glad they didn't spend too much time searching for Sylvie. I was worried that was going to be like the full season, like we're looking for Sylvie, we can't find Sylvie, but they found her episode 2, and it really wasn't like a large story point. Obviously, like she has her arc going on, but yeah, I think it's paced extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
It's set up extremely well, and I'm really excited to see where it goes.
And the scene where Owen Wilson is like going out towards the thing to put the giant reactor into the that was such a good scene.
Yeah, it was. And it had tension, even though you kind of felt like
he's gonna make it
obviously
out, yeah.
But like at the same time, there's so much time shenanigans and stuff. Like I was like, oh, are they gonna go back in time to save him if he does die? Are they just gonna get a different Loki? Maybe they'll actually kill this Loki. I was a bit worried about that, but I like what they did, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. Real quick, I do want. Do you got a prediction for what Morbius's life on the
Mobius
sacred timeline?
Morbius.
Oh, I see.
I keep saying Morbius.
Morbius, heck yeah. So anything for the Sandman? What's your prediction about his life? What it was like? It presumably includes jet skis.
Yeah, my first guess was that was just going to be actor Owen Wilson's life, right? That would be really funny. But apparently he's not that big of a fan of jet skis. So I feel like maybe it is just like he's got a family, he's got like a bunch of kids, and he's just like going to be depressed when he finds out that like he got like that's the life he could have had,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's I think the most popular theory right now is he's going to be like a jet ski dealership. Like that's And it would make sense. Like they're gonna cut to Owen Wilson on the Secret Timeline. He's gonna be selling jet skis. Like, get it right now. You know? But a quick shout out to Morbius, aka Sandman. That's on Netflix. It's a very interesting, weird show. Have you seen the Sandman?
I've watched like most of it. I think I haven't watched like the last couple episodes.
You gotta watch the last couple episodes. It gets even weirder.
And didn't it get picked up by another streamer? Or maybe they're just doing season 2.
I think they're just doing a season 2 because they left it on a cliffhanger. So look at that, DC getting big pop with the Sandman.
Yep, fuck yeah.
But enough about Netflix. What's Disney Plus cooking up?
So there's going to be a big shift in Marvel TV production. This dropped on Wednesday morning, I believe. And there's a headline that, to be honest, kind of pissed me off a little bit. So there was a bunch of reports saying that inside Marvel, they were unhappy with the way that Daredevil Born Again was being filmed. Apparently it had filmed like 4 episodes, and it was mostly like a legal drama, like a courtroom drama. But apparently it wasn't working because it was almost exclusively like Matt Murdock, and like he didn't suit up until episode 4. But apparently there was a bunch of other reasons why it didn't work. But here's where the stinger comes, because apparently Marvel said that they didn't even have showrunners for any of their TV shows. So they said that they're finally starting to trust in the word showrunner, and that they finally learned to respect that word, because their TV model doesn't seem to be working.
No.
So in a traditional TV show, a traditional TV production, normally a production studio would get pitched pilots to a TV show, and then they would like come together as a board and say like, this worked, this didn't work, or we want to move forward with this, and this is why it didn't work. We want you to change like some of it. So like a famous example of this was Game of Thrones. So Game of Thrones like submitted their pilot. They didn't really like the pilot of Game of Thrones, so they reshot it, and then that's how they cast Emilia Clarke and a lot of the other big names. Is they weren't in the original pilot. So normally they have to go through a process of pitching a pilot, getting it okayed, and then getting it picked up for 1 season, and then having to film that season and then get picked up for a 2nd season, right? So Marvel was just having like a creator/writer come aboard, serve as like the showrunner, and then like film like most of it, and then try to like fix everything that was wrong with it in post.
Oh, that explains a couple things though.
Yeah. So I was looking
like Miss Marvel not having a showrunner makes so much sense.
Yeah. And it like that's very clear, because the first 2 episodes it seemed like it was like had a creative direction and like writing that actually like cared for it and wanted to spend time with Miss Marvel. And then it seemed like a studio stepped in and said like, no, this is the direction we got to go, because this is a Marvel superhero TV show.
Yeah, no, 100%. It really felt like, especially in that one, we talked about that before. It's so rough. And I think Secret Invasion, I'm guessing, is what prompted this, right?
Yeah. So Secret Invasion, like it underwent like 4 months of reshoots, and ended up costing like $215 million to shoot, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
I was looking into this a little bit more, and so like I was looking up which shows had like none of the like, so the only shows with dedicated like showrunners were like WandaVision, which the showrunner was also the creator of WandaVision.
Very good show.
Loki, and She-Hulk. Those are the only three that had like one person that was like running the show while they had other creators and other writers.
And those are the most coherent shows.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of, you could say what you want about She-Hulk, it's episodic. It's kind of like case of the week, and then it slowly builds into a finale. Like, it works like a TV show. Same with the other ones that you mentioned. I guess WandaVision kind of feels like it's a long movie, but like it works, obviously, and Loki, same thing.
Yeah.
So it kind of just sounds like they've made good stuff when they've had showrunners. Why are they just now starting to respect this term showrunner?
Yeah. So starting now, they said that they're going to start having proper showrunners that are going to write pilots and show Bibles, which a show Bible is usually like setting up the laws of the universe within the TV series that usually you don't break, like having a super serum that has every single Avengers DNA in it that gives you every single power in the Marvel universe. That probably wouldn't have been included in the show Bible. I would hope not. But like just like things that don't go out of the bounds of the show, like the story that you're trying to tell. So
yeah,
I'm excited about this, but also like they should have been doing this from the start.
It definitely seems like they could do no wrong for the longest time.
Yeah.
And they got a little bit like, we can do whatever. We're Marvel. Like, anything we put out, people are going to like.
Yeah.
Because we're Marvel. And not realizing people liked a lot of that stuff because of the direction behind it, because it felt good. One of my favorite Marvel movies is Iron Man 3 because it feels like, Shane Black movie.
Yeah,
it feels like a movie.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that have come out that don't feel like movies to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they need to get back to. I'm one of the few people that didn't mind Quantumania. I guess not one of the few people. It's fine. It's okayly received. But that movie's like the epitome of this, where it's like, there's no movie here. This is just Marvel stuff.
Yeah. It really felt like people have been using this term like movies by committee, where it seems like it just seems like a boardroom got together and are like, this is the movie that we're going to make, as opposed to some like a James Gunn coming to you and being like we need to tell the end of Rocket's story because it means something to me as well as the people who watch the movies.
Yeah. And even with James Gunn, he had that written. Obviously, he had to adapt it to fit with the time, like the amount of time that had passed.
Yeah.
But like that was always the story. He had a plan, and it was cohesive and it made sense. Same thing when you're watching like Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, and you're like, oh wow, they thought about this stuff.
Yeah.
And it feels like with Quantumania, like they didn't think about any of it. Like none of it. I liked watching it, but it does feel like you're watching like a 2020 Shark Boy and Lava Girl, which isn't necessarily a bad thing for me, but I can understand how some people may not have liked that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But that's enough Marvel. Let's talk a little DC. Let's talk a little headlines. What's going on in the movie verse, in the entertainment industry, as some would say. I think this is the headline that a lot of people have seen in the last week, maybe two. It's been out for a little bit, but it's a wild headline, and it's alleged. So this is alleged. Jason Momoa allegedly showed up drunk to the set of Aquaman, dressed as Johnny Depp, and attempted to get Amber Heard fired.
I did not see the part where he was dressed up like Johnny Depp. That was wild.
Right? What does that mean? What is dressing up like Johnny Depp?
Dress up like Jack Sparrow?
right?
Did he just have a scarf on? Like,
did he like do like? No way he would have shaved his beard. Like, what is dressing up like Johnny Depp?
That's wild.
I don't get that, but I can feel for him when you are the star of this movie and everyone's like Jason Momoa, Aquaman, and the biggest critique of like that movie when you talk like not about the movie when you're talking to other people, they're like, oh, it's got Amber Heard in it.
Yeah,
I don't want to watch Amber Heard. Like Amber Heard has a very toxic reputation.
Yeah,
and he was kind of just attached to that. And I always kind of wondered because he's a very, I don't know, on topics like this, I feel like he's pretty outward about it. And it was pretty quiet. So good on him for keeping it quiet. But that is hilarious if true.
Yeah. Honestly, gotta give props to Jason Momoa for that.
Why not? Yeah. I wish there was more just petty on-set drama. These days it feels like since like movies are such a production and there's so many times where stars aren't even filming with each other, you don't really get the same like stories as you maybe used to about all these crazy things that happen. But stuff like this, keep leaking it, even if it's not true. We can run with it and someone will have to say if it's real or not.
Leave it to a Fast and Furious actor to have on-set beef.
Family.
Yep.
Another headline of this guy that is a guy that plays sad, depressed alcoholics very well. And there's some reports that he is a sad, depressed alcoholic, and it makes some sense. One of my favorite actors, I believe one of yours as well, Jeremy Allen White.
Oh, yeah.
He's got to do alcohol testing 5 days a week to get time with his kids.
Jeez.
5 times a week is nuts.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Like alcohol testing 5 times. Obviously something happened or it's like some legal thing. Yeah. But I found it interesting in the sense that it's kind of the character Lip plays on Shameless. If you ever seen that, he definitely has an alcohol problem. And Jeremy Allen White's a really, really talented actor. And I think it's only a matter of time before he kind of breaks through into a little more mainstream stuff. Just how talented he is. And he's getting those nods. I really hope there's nothing too serious here that holds him back. Obviously, there's countless stories of actors and their troubles and maybe not living up to the potential that they could have.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. I didn't know that he was like actually like that in real life, but I do remember seeing a story about how pretty sure he married like his high school sweetheart or something. And then
that's always when it happens is the high school.
There was like posts of hers after he won like his I think he won like an award for Shameless, or he won like best actor for Shameless or something. And there was just like all these like sentimental posts, but then it just like really seemed like they were like one of the couples that were gonna be that were gonna last, you know. But yeah, crazy.
I mean, it's tough, but hey, let's talk some. I don't know if you're a film bro, this might be your 9/11, right?
Yeah, seriously.
A24
fell over
wants to get into
my knees in the store when I read this.
They want some big budget movies. There's a quote about Jeremy Allen White that he has had like a stack of A24 scripts on his. I don't know where that quote came from or if he actually did have a stack of A24 scripts, but that was a couple years ago or a year ago, and I doubt any were as big budget as they're talking about now. And you'd have to assume that's because of the success of Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
What do you make of this? What do you think they might do, and what is big budget to them?
I think big budget means like big actor names. We've seen that a little bit with like I think Andrew Garfield's done an A24 project. We saw Adam Sandler do Uncut Gems, which is fire. the Robert Pattinson has done an A24 movie, but I think that a lot of A24 movies are very small. Like they're like very close shot, very like either one location or like only 2 or 3 people maybe. So
Yeah.
I think it just means like bigger casts, like maybe like like I'd love to see a A24 like mob style movie, you know? Like with like a huge cast of characters, or it doesn't even have to be a superhero property, but
Yeah. Like almost I like the idea of A24, do all the A24 like staples of just like you said, up close shots. You keep it tight. Storytelling is definitely there, but like have an absurd cast, like Expendables level like cast.
Yeah,
but it's like
just have them
mobster,
all acting their asses off.
Yeah, everyone. Willem Dafoe
Like,
would be a must.
Adam Driver in there.
Yeah. And just
Gyllenhaal.
The most absurd cast. I don't care how much you spend on special effects. Like if you want big budget, I would love that.
Yeah,
I would absolutely love that. They would do that really well. I think the first thing that comes to mind when you say like superhero in A24 is Invincible, to me at least.
That would be awesome.
But I think Amazon would want that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I could see like A24 producing Amazon distribution kind of thing going on. But I could also see like a lot of like DC characters. I think DC is at the point that they would let some of those like be produced.
Yeah.
I think Marvel is setting up to with their whole multiverse stuff. I think they're literally setting it up not only for a possible reboot if they ever want to do that. I think they would never do like a hard reboot. I think they would basically just take us to a different universe, like this is the Ultimate Universe or something, and they would start over that way. And then you could still bring in the old actors as like they're traveling from that universe, and you can keep that universe alive and well. But I can definitely see them doing some stuff. Maybe not outsourcing that now that it's Disney, but I think DC is a real possibility with some of their more obscure characters.
Yeah, and I have heard about DC like wanting to shop around their properties a little bit. Apparently they're looking to like go to other studios to produce some different genre stuff. I'd love to see A24 Swamp Thing, or like a A24 like Booster Gold or something, where he's like, I don't know, like addicted to addicted to drugs or something. I don't know.
Hey, by the way, James Gunn, the offer still stands. If you need someone to play Booster Gold, I'm training for that. Hit me up. But I really hope I think everyone took the wrong lessons from the MCU's success. They took all of the wrong stuff that the MCU was doing and was like, this is why it's doing well. It's doing well because they have their intro shows characters.
Well, we need
like that's why they're
intro
doing well.
With our characters.
Yep.
Big teams.
Mm-hmm.
Cameos. Lots of special effects.
And then the like DC took it as we need to have a consistent tone for all of our movies.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder made our first Man of Steel movie, and we have to keep that tone throughout the whole universe, or it's not going to feel like a universe. Why?
Yeah. The Flash movie
should not have
the same tone as the Batman.
Like they changed the tone of the Wonder Woman movie, and it was good. And was anyone like, Wonder Woman feels so out of place in this Justice League movie? No. Because it's Wonder Woman.
She was like the best part of that movie.
Yeah.
Because she was like out of her element a little bit, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's what made the Avengers good, was the fact that Iron Man and Captain America, while having similar color grading, similar direction, similar shots, they were tonally very different.
Yeah.
And you can do that with other studios, other styles, other color palettes. Like, it doesn't matter. I think they're doing that. Like you said, James Gunn's also like, yeah, well, we're going to do animation. People are going to cross over from the animation, and all of that stuff is all going to be like interconnected.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
Like, you could do a Superman, James Gunn's Superman, and it could be this happy-go-lucky. You could make it in the style of, like, you could have Taika Waititi do a movie, and you could have Zack Snyder do a movie, and they could still be in the same universe.
Yeah.
I don't understand the need for a consistent tone, and that's something maybe A24 could do. Like, give A24, like you said, a Brewster Gold. I would love to see like a Green Lantern, right?
Yeah.
Talking
That would
big
be
budget.
sick.
Like, let's get a space Green Lantern movie.
Yeah.
Diving into all of the different like politics between the different colors of the Lantern Corps. That would be so cool.
Yeah. Or like if we're stepping into Marvel territory, like a Daredevil A24 movie would be fire.
That would be, and there's so much they can do with it. And just not even on the topic of like superheroes, I think you could do some remakes. There's a lot of like they're looking into like franchises. There's like a lot of remakes that I'd like to see be done, even if they're like not that interesting, or spinoffs. Like imagine like a Pirates of the Caribbean spinoff or something. Like that's a stupid, silly thing that I don't think anybody's really that pressed about the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise at this point. But
yeah,
they're cool movies. It's a cool universe.
Or
and A24 would do something
Hulu
crazy
did,
with it.
Hulu made like Prey last year, and that was like a Predator.
Right?
That was like a Predator movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would like something like that would be sick.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see what they do. Obviously, A24 as a studio, it has probably one of the best track records of any studio in terms of putting out unique, fresh content. But not everything's a hit. So who knows? Maybe this bigger budget isn't good. I don't think it's necessarily bad, though, as some people are painting it to be.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing either.
They see big budget as soulless, but it doesn't have to be. Yeah. There's plenty of big budget things that we've seen that are really, really good, like Into the Spider-Verse, or just a multitude of projects that have passion behind them. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing. If I'm A24 and I'm buying up the rights to a bunch of random stuff, just random, like, who cares? Toy Soldiers. Get the rights to Toy Soldiers. Oh my God, dude. Oh my God. Imagine that. Give me like someone get like Tim Burton on the phone and let's do a A24 Toy Soldiers remake. That would make it. But it doesn't matter what the property is. And then just find good directors and let them just go crazy with it. That's what they've done really well in the past. Don't change it. Just put more money into it, and it's going to have a wider appeal, and you're going to make a whole lot of money as a studio. Just don't lose that model.
Yeah.
But that's enough about movie studios. Let's talk about the people that make movies, and not the thousands of other people that make movies. The people that are on screen that get credit for making movies.
The top build.
Let's talk about the actors.
Let's do it.
So I went ahead and just kind of got like quick categories. We got 6 different categories of actors from all different fields, whether that be musician, athlete, so. We have some broader, some more like tight ones, depending on how many options I thought there was. Some of them, there's plenty of options. Some of them you have to make a stretch for. There's no criteria for this. Just who do you think's the best actor here? And let's go ahead and start off. Who do you have as your best musician? They could have started in TV, but people know them better as a musician, or they've transferred, whatever kind of thing. Who do you got?
I think it's got to be Donald Glover. He's got to be my maybe one of my favorite actors, period. Mm-hmm. Loved him in Community. Loved him as Simba in the live action Lion King, even though that wasn't the best, but his portrayal, it's awesome. Played Miles Morales and one of the very first ever voiced Miles. appearance.
He's kind of the reason Miles Morales exists, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, like him being like into Spider-Man prompted like, hey, why don't we have a black Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Why don't we cast Donald Glover as the rebooted Spider-Man? Ended up not happening. Oh wait, this is a really cool idea. Like, let's just do it. And Miles Morales, now one of the most famous comic characters ever.
Yep. Enough said.
Yeah, I had the same. I wrote Gambino, Childish Gambino. If you don't know, that's his stage name. I think he created it with like a rap name generator, but it's iconic. And I loved him on Community, obviously. I've loved him in pretty much everything he's been in. One of my favorite, like, just celebrities of all time, just listening to them speak and just how talented he is. So not really any debate there. Obviously, there's a bunch of names that you could put here, but we're just going to say Donald Glover. So the next one is the best athlete actor. Now, this one, you can go a lot of different ways. I went with a out there name because I wasn't sure exactly who I wanted to decide on. And then I decided on someone that's never even done a movie. They've only done commercials. So who did you pick for your best athlete?
I picked Happy Gilmore alum Carl Weathers. Played Chubbs in Happy Gilmore. He also plays Grief Karga in The Mandalorian. All around great actor, enjoyable to watch. And he also directed a couple episodes of The Mandalorian, so love that.
Nice. Now you're gonna what sport did Carl Weathers play?
I believe he was a linebacker in the NFL.
Okay. All right. That's something right there. All right. You don't see them linebackers moving in. Normally it's QBs.
Went undrafted in the 1970 NFL draft, and then he signed with the Oakland Raiders. And
let's go. Just win, baby, win. Interesting. Okay. I went with the player still playing. He's going to be playing this Sunday. And you probably haven't seen him in any commercials, but I do genuinely believe that he is the best actor in terms of actual, like, just screen presence, delivery, and all that stuff. And it's not Peyton Manning. It's the one and only Baker Mayfield. The At Home with Baker Mayfield series is a series of commercials for insurance, where the entire shtick is that, you know, your home stadium, you call that home. Well, Baker Mayfield's actually living in there, and he's going through all of the things you do at home, taking in groceries, but you don't have your keys or whatever. But it's funny because it's at $1 billion stadium and not a house. And he's really, really good in them. And he's definitely someone that once his NFL career is over, I would expect either he goes into the standard, like, talking head stuff. But ideally, I'd like to see this dude act, because I think he can act, man.
I haven't seen any of these commercials. I'll have to look them up after we're done.
You gotta watch the At Home with Baker Mayfield. If you're an avid football watcher, you remember him. They used to play a ton, especially when Baker was not doing very good. So I highly recommend that. Next one is the most concise topic. It has the least amount of wiggle room, but has the most amount of options. And probably because this field is very performative in nature, and that's the best WWE superstar turned actor. Who did you have for this?
John Cena.
Oh no.
Gotta be. There's a few. Almost said Dave Bautista, but I feel like I feel like just John Cena's presence, his screen presence, and the characters that he plays, I feel like are just like more fun than Dave Bautista.
Right. I mean, I think the biggest thing with Cena, right, is he needs to get out of being Cena. And I think he can. I don't think he necessarily has yet in terms of, like, the characters he plays, but that's something The Rock was never able to do.
Yeah.
Like, The Rock has never been able to not be The Rock.
Yeah.
And I think that's something Cena is better at. I think he can play just more, like, varying roles, but at the end of the day, I think he's got a really bright future ahead of him. And I think when we look back at it, obviously, like, my generation I grew up with Cena. I didn't grow up with The Rock. I didn't grow up in the 80s and 90s. So I'm like Cena all the way. So if he is my Dwayne The Rock Johnson, I think we're in a better boat because I think he has a bit more range and he's way funnier.
Yeah.
But for mine, I went ahead and did Dave Bautista. I think his range is also incredible. And like just like he's done a ton of movies at this point. He's more of an actor, more known as an actor than he ever was as a WWE superstar, IMO. I mean, he's in movies. He's one of the highest grossing actors of all time when you add up all the Avengers and all of that. Like it's crazy. So he's great comedic timing, great screen presence, and he's really able, even for especially emotional scenes. I think he does those a lot better than, like, say, Cena. We haven't really seen that side of him, so I think he's really one of the better big budget actors in general. So the fact that he came from WWE is pretty crazy, because most of these guys were like bodybuilders getting signed.
Yeah. And I've heard him say that he wants to be doing more like emotional roles, like step away from like being the heavy, the heavy brood, and trying to actually do like some more meaningful roles, which I think is cool.
Yeah, and he's killing it so far. So I'd love to see him keep it up. Always rooting for those WWE guys, as they come from just a different background. It's cool. Yeah. The next one is the best politician actor, and I'm going to go first on this one because mine is also a WWE superstar, because these dudes got range, because Glenn Jacobs was not only Kane in the WWE, but he also went on to be a governor, and he's also acted in a lot of stuff. Minor roles, some stuff is like WWE, but he's like a big 6'8" kind of guy, but he has pretty great range, pretty terrible politics, and he's an interesting fellow for sure. Big shout out to Glenn Jacobs. Who did you got?
So also, not great politics, great actor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator himself. Love every movie that he's in, you know. Not every movie, I'm not going to say that, but a majority of them, you know. Like there's a movie with him and Danny DeVito that's pretty funny, like twins, or you know, Terminator 2, one of the greatest sci-fi movies of all time. So
right, yeah. I mean, it's hard to argue with that. Obviously, he was kind of an actor before, but I think he got better as an actor later in his career, which was kind of after the Office run. And I'm going to take the next one because you keep giving me too good of segues, because we're talking about the best nepotism actor. And I want to give a shout out to Gen V for casting Patrick Schwarzenegger. Obviously, you hear the name. He's not only a Schwarzenegger, but he's also a Kennedy. And he's got one of the craziest bloodlines you're ever going to see in the modern human world. And he's a pretty good actor. Obviously, we didn't get to see a ton of him in Gen V, but the first 2 episodes that he's in, as well as like any flashback or additional scenes that they've shown, and we'll be talking about Gen V next week. Just really good. I think when you talk about nepotism actors, you're obviously worried that they're, you know, going to be Johnny Depp's daughter starring in a production produced by The Weeknd, but not all of them are like that, and most of them have worked really hard to get to where they are. And I think he's going to be someone that he has that golden boy face, and he's got that name. He's Patrick Schwarzenegger, so like I expect this guy to be in big budget movies soon.
Yeah. And for this category, I went with Jack Quaid.
Same franchise.
Yep, same franchise from The Boys. But he's just like a really enjoyable actor, super charming on screen. It seems like he was in he had like a few scenes in Oppenheimer, and then he was also Gwen Stacy's Spider-Man on Her Earth and Across the Spider-Verse. But yeah, just a big fan of Jack Quaid and his work. And I feel like he's got a big career ahead of him.
Yeah, Jack Quaid, he's also is just super down to earth dude.
Yeah.
Which when you come from that type of fame with Meg Ryan and all that, like you expect these guys that have been handed everything to, be a little, I don't know, just not quite not like Jack Quaid. Jack Quaid's kind of dude that's
Yeah.
gonna talk to like fans at Comic-Con and stuff, and I really like him. And I think he does a really good job in just listing what he's done. He's kind of owning 2022, 2023, and we haven't even seen The Boys yet, which is like his big role in terms of screen time. So
Yeah.
really excited for that. Really excited to see where Jack Quaid goes. He's another one I can see, being in some big budget as like, if you're going to have like a heist movie, like he's a guy in a heist movie for sure.
Definitely.
And then for the best internet personality actor, this one can be hard, as there are a lot of ways you can classify this, and most internet personalities are younger, so they haven't had the chance to go on and do too much yet. So you're talking preliminary roles, or if you just really liked Jake Paul in Bizaardvark or something.
Is that an actual movie?
Bizaardvark?
Yeah.
It's a TV show that has unreal talent on that show. Go ahead and tell me your best internet, and I'll give you some of the people that were on Bizaardvark.
So I went with someone who might not be very well known. His name is Jimmy Tatro. He's been in 22 Jump Street. He was just in a movie that I watched called Theater Camp. He's pretty good in that. He used to be in this YouTube show called The Real Bros of Simi Valley. Have you ever seen that? That's pretty funny. It's got like Cody Ko in it. But
oh hell yeah.
But yeah, I just think he always plays like the douchebag or the like airhead like guy friend that doesn't really know what's happening, but I don't know, he's enjoyable to watch. So that's what I put down.
Awesome. So, I mean, I want to give a shout out to Cody Ko. He's, if you don't know Cody Ko, now you know. He's classic YouTube commentary channel, but he's, I believe he's been doing acting lessons for a few years now. And he appears in a few things. If you guys have ever seen the like, I think it's, what's it called? The Almost Friday TV. They do skits. They're very like highly produced skits. It's kind of like a mixture of a classic YouTube skit and a movie. And he's really, really good in those. So I want to give him the shout out on that, obviously. But I real quickly, this Bizaardvark. So the star of Bizaardvark is Olivia Rodrigo. Like,
damn, this is before
right?
High School, the musical, the series.
Yes, this was going on in 2012 or no, 2016. Is when Bizaardvark was happening, 2016 through 2019. And Jake Paul, obviously. Maybe I overestimated. I just knew Olivia Rodrigo was in it, which obviously, if you don't know Olivia Rodrigo, one of the biggest stars in music at this point. So yeah, interesting. It seems like most of the other people have not gone on to do much. Madison Hugh was the second lead. She did 63 episodes along with Olivia Rodrigo, and her last credit was an Olivia Rodrigo music video. So
nice.
Don't know where we're going there, but for my internet personality turned actor, I wanted to give a shout out. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right, to Scott Sias. He was in Cocaine Bear. He was the EMT in Cocaine Bear with the mustache. But a lot of people may know him from the retail TikToks he would do working in IKEA. Then the music hits and he just goes wild, and they're hilarious clips. I highly recommend him if you've ever worked retail, or if you just like hearing people rant about their jobs in a comedic fashion. But he got a shot on Cocaine Bear, and I don't know if he was friends with someone in production, or someone in production was watching him and was like, yo, this guy's really funny. Yeah. Let's just get him in a movie. Who cares? We're Cocaine Bear.
Yeah. I feel like they need to just start doing that more, you know? Like if
Why
people are
not?
good on like social media, like doing like 10-second comedies, like 10-second comedy bits, you know? Like
Yeah.
they have to be able to deliver a line in a movie.
And they got to be cheap, and you get the pop from their audience, like being like, whoa, that's a whole audience that would never. Obviously, Scott's probably not the best example. I don't think he really has that kind of following, but like there's certain people that, like Cody Ko, for example, like why not just cast Cody Ko in a throwaway role?
Yeah.
There's so many people that are going to see that movie just because he's in it, and his acting isn't going to hold the production back at all. So
Yeah.
I really like the idea, and maybe it's a trend we see. But that's our list of the best actors by varying mediums. Few surprises in there. I don't think anyone would have expected me to say Baker Mayfield, but shout out Bakey. But let's go ahead and move on to some movies. Talk
Let's
about
do
what
it.
we've been watching
So,
and all that great stuff. I wanted to talk about Influencer because I just watched Influencer. It came out last year. I didn't get to it last year. I had already gone all the way through on my horror movies for October, and I just didn't squeeze it in. Most like horror movies that release in theaters are like that for me because I like watching horror movies at home. I don't want to hear the other people for like horrors and thrillers. Like that's very much like a comedy action movie feel for me. If it's a psychological thriller like Influencer is, I want to watch that at home. So I finally got around to watching it. It's very, very good. It's very, very smart. It isn't like any thriller that I've watched in terms of unpredictability. The whole movie you're expecting to be one thing, and it's not. At every single turn, it's not what you expect. And I think I'm pretty good at predicting movies. Okay, they're showing me this because they want to show me this later, or they're showing me this because this is going to happen later. And there'd be times where they foreshadow something, and it's the reason they were foreshadowing it. It's not like it's like a red herring. They are showing you it, but it's not for the reason you think. And it just feels really smart. It doesn't feel like you're watching one of those like so bad it's good. It feels like you're genuinely enjoying it in like kind of a Knives Out kind of feel. But it's a lot more like thriller. There's a bit of gore, but there's a lot less than you'd expect from it. And I really, really impressed by it. I think it's something that probably didn't cost too much money.
nice.
Probably was a financial success. And
Yeah.
I think it's something that if you are interested in thrillers, something you should definitely watch.
And you said this was released in theaters.
I believe
Last
so. It may have been kind of a more digital, like kind of rollout. It's on AMC Plus with a subscription.
I got you.
Yeah.
Nobody's got a fucking AMC Plus subscription.
But it's kind of like it's distributed by Shudder. I don't know if it has a box office, does it? Probably not. Yeah, no, it only made $200K at the box office, so that's got to be like just like smaller theater releases. So, but it's got like a 92% on Rotten Tomato, and for good reason. So, highly recommend you watch that. What have you been watching, Trent?
So last week we you talked about your review of Bottoms, and
Bottoms.
gave me a movie to watch, which was Vacation Friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched that, so I enjoyed it. It was a fun comedy. There was definitely like some stuff that I was like expecting to happen that didn't happen. For sure, I thought for sure that John Cena was like a undercover, like a secret op, you know.
Yeah.
And then that was going to be revealed at some point. But no, I really enjoyed it. The only one of my gripes about the movie though was just like some of the characters are just so dumb, you know. Like,
oh yeah,
yeah, in the very beginning there's like a desk worker, and I forget exactly what he did, but he was just just super bad at his job. And then like they're talking about John Cena like sneaking weed into the resort, and he's he's the first person to ever smuggle weed into Mexico. Like, I know that was a joke, but
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
just really
it's
out there.
Yeah, no, there's definitely like it's good, but there's jokes that miss, and like you said, sometimes the characters are a bit past believability, but there's also like certain moments, especially like when I forget her name, but the wife, the crazy wife is like talking, and it felt very real.
Yeah.
Like she was obviously unhinged, but like everybody's had conversations with like that unhinged person where you're like, holy shit, it's ramping up,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think they captured that really well. I think Cena is incredibly likable in it.
Mhm.
And they kind of delve more into how weird of people they are in the sequel, which I do recommend if you watched it. It's nothing special. I think the Vacation Friends entire series is kind of just like, if you like Cena, you like, that's why I would recommend someone watching it. But I mean, they're enjoyable nonetheless.
Yeah, he definitely
nothing
carried that
groundbreaking, but he carries it.
Yeah, and
When
you could just see that he's having a lot of fun, and I could see like why they made a second one, because he was probably just like, yeah, I just want to play this character again, and I'm assuming that they probably go to on a different vacation in the second one. So
yep. And there's the probably the most unlikely one is that hotel guy. He's in it. He's one of the better characters in the sequel. Yeah, I don't know why he shows up, but he's in it. And it's pretty decent. So if you ever need 90 minutes to kill, Vacation Friends 2 is definitely something. But we like to end these off with one of us recommending a movie to the other. Obviously, I gave you that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got for me this week? It is a law binding that I have to watch this movie before the next recording. So what's it going to be, Trent?
So it is October, little spooky,
Mm-hmm.
little ominous, So I think I'll go with Annihilation.
You've been trying to get me to watch that for a long time, and I'm down. I've always been down. It's a longer movie.
Yeah, it is a longer movie.
I oftentimes, if I'm trying to decide between two movies, which one's shorter is what I'll go with. So there's been a couple times that it's been between Annihilation and another movie, and it's just gotten the boot for being longer, but I'm excited to finally watch it. I hear Natalie Portman's great in it, and you got, I'm like looking at the cast here. It's a cast.
And Oscar Isaac.
And we got Gina Rodriguez.
Rodriguez is in it too. Yeah.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun, and I'm down for some sci-fi, and it's supposedly a really good movie. One of your favorites, right?
Yeah, very interesting concept. Very, I love the way that the story unfolds.
Right. So I will be back next week with my first time reaction to watching Annihilation. I want to thank everybody for listening. Really appreciate it if you made it all the way through the pod. And I hope you tune in next week to hear my Annihilation review and all the other random stuff we have to say about Gen V and the rest of the filmmaking, movie, TV world. What do you got, Trent, for us before we sign out?
Thanks all for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. If you made it this far. If you're listening, thank you for listening. Hopefully this wasn't too boring. A little bit less longer than last time, just by like an hour or something. So yeah,
we got off the Marvel stuff.
Yeah. So, we'll see you all next week. Thanks for listening.
See y'all next week. Love you. Bye.
Deuces.